Hey everyone, welcome back to the Dawgland. I am your host, Anthony Joki. I got Jackson McCurry alongside me today. We do have a couple things that we do have to discuss because we got some Browns news, which we joked about last episode, that we're going to do more of these short videos because there's always something to talk about. The first thing we are going to talk about is Deshaun Watson and the injury news that came down regarding his Achilles. Then we're going to get into Deion Sanders maybe being up for the Raiders coaching job and how that can affect the Browns later on. But Jack, we learned on Friday that there was some more news about Deshaun Watson and his injury. When Andrew Berry spoke in his press conference earlier in the week, he mentioned that there was a setback, and it turns out that this was quite the setback. The Browns released a statement. Um, about the setback, saying yesterday Deshaun Watson underwent a second surgery to repair his right Achilles tendon rupture. Watson initially tore the tendon during the Browns' Week 7 game against the Cincinnati Bengals on October 20th. His first surgery was performed on October 25th. Earlier this week, when Watson reported to the cross country mortgage campus for his exit physical as part of the Browns' season ending process, he complained of discomfort after rolling his ankle in Miami. MRI results demonstrated a re rupture to his Achilles tendon. Dr. Bob Anderson, a foot and ankle specialist in Charlotte, North Carolina, performed both surgeries. Watson's recovery time and return to play status is uncertain, and he will likely miss significant time during the 2025 season. Now, Jack, that's huge because I don't know, many different angles. But first, your initial thoughts to the news that came down on Friday.
When Andrew Berry said that there'd be a setback, you kind of wondered, like, was there some type of infection, or was there just, something that went wrong with the first surgery to where they had to, potentially clean something up. But the fact that they're saying that they said that he re-ruptured his Achilles tendon, and there was, I think it was Dr. Jesse Morse, who's an MD who, talks about football injuries a lot on social media, and he's been on podcasts and radio shows, and he said that there's a very low chance of a re-rupture. Like, it was totally mind blowing that this was actually the case. And to see, like, now, like, we kind of knew for sure that, like, the quarterback room was going to be reshaped because of the injury. Now it just all but, I think, cements that Deshaun's never going to take another snap with the Cleveland Browns. And it's just wild to me that he has re-ruptured the same Achilles tendon twice in a nearly 3 month span. And it just makes you wonder if he's ever going to see the football field again.
Yeah, honestly, two injuries like that back to back. Um, not to mention trying to come back from the shoulder injury last season, and who knows how right that even is as well. He didn't get through the whole season, so we don't really know how that is feeling for him as well. So the big part of this is two things. One, we kind of talked about how his contract is insured, and the Browns, if he misses significant time next season, that the Browns will get some salary cap relief around like 45 million, I believe, is the number that's kind of been thrown out there for that. But the other thing is, if this injury or this re-rupture occurred uh, from him doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing and it didn't occur in rehab, his remaining guarantees on the contract could be voided. Um, that is something that would be huge for this franchise. Um, and I don't know. We'll see how that kind of turns out. But if he was doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing, and they are able to void the remaining guarantees on his contract, um, the outlook of the cap for the Browns changes significantly.
Yeah, it really does, because, like, I think there's still going to be dead money on the deal, but the guaranteed money could be up. But yeah, I mean, we've seen social media posts on Instagram and on TikTok where he's not wearing a boot. Now, people that I've heard that have suffered Achilles injuries, they have said that you're in a boot for the minimum, like the first 3 months of recovery. And I don't know if you have to be in the boot all the time. I know people, normal people that have had Achilles injuries said like other than when they're sleeping, they were always wearing the boot. But like we see that video of Watson like dancing on the side of a road with his girlfriend. He's not really moving his feet too much, but he doesn't have a boot on. He has regular tennis shoes. I know the day after Christmas he posted like good to be on my feet again, and he's not wearing a boot. Like if he's not following the recovery process, unless he's some kind of fast healer and his doctors told him he didn't have to wear the boot, I would be like astonished like 2 months after a surgery. But like I know athletes, they recover quicker than normal people that suffer the same type of injuries. But yeah, if he wasn't following his rehab process, and I know that he was working with his trainer in Miami, according to reports, but like if the Browns didn't know about how his rehab process or they weren't in sync and he would, like you said, he was doing something that he wasn't supposed to do, there's a good chance they go and fight this and try to void the 92 million remaining. And that changes the whole perception of the Cleveland Browns. Yes, this trade will probably go down as the worst in sports history, but if they can get out of the deal and the remaining guarantee money, Anthony, that could be huge for the franchise.
Yeah, I mean, the quarterback question will still be there,
Yes.
unfortunately, on who's going to play quarterback for the Browns next year. But at least this chapter will fully be closed in that aspect. All right. The other thing that kind of came down today was a report uh, by the Las Vegas Review Journal, and I apologize because I am not going to be able to pronounce the name of the person who wrote the article, but his first name is Vincent, and he said in this article that Deion Sanders is allegedly interested in the Raiders coaching job. Now, the Raiders currently right now are sitting sixth in the NFL draft, and are going to be looking for a quarterback. And obviously, Shador Sanders, his son, is going to be one of the top quarterbacks taken in this draft. Now, Jack, um, let's get into how this kind of affects the Cleveland Browns here. Obviously the Browns are picking second. The Titans are picking first. If he goes to Vegas and is a new head coach of the Raiders, I would imagine that he's going to do everything in his power to get one of these top two draft picks in order to take Shador to be able to coach him.
Yeah, it's a very interesting report. Like no national reporters have chimed in on it. I don't know the credibility of the Raiders guy that reported this, but like Vegas has always made sense as a landing spot for Shador. It just and even a spot for Dion, who obviously like until this past week when they fired Antonio Pierce, we didn't know what the Raiders were going to go searching for a head coach. They are, and they're searching for a GM. So it kind of throws a wrench into everything. Now, the rumors this morning were Ben Johnson to the Raiders was picking up steam, the Lions offensive coordinator. But it's just a matter of like, because Tom Brady has a huge say on that organization, being a minority owner. So if they want Dion, I'm sure it can happen quickly. And if it does, like, there's a bidding war now going on because I'm sure the Raiders are going to do all they can to make sure Shador is a Raider if Dion gets the job, if it's true that he wants it. It just makes sense for all parties then. And now you get into a situation where do the Raiders want to jump all the way to one to make sure they get Shador? Do they feel confident that Tennessee wants Cam Ward and then they make a deal with the Browns? It'll be interesting to say the least. Like if Dion takes that job, like everybody, and it's already started on Twitter, like I've made a trade proposal with the Browns and Raiders. I know you did in your mock draft. Like if it happens, like let the sweepstakes begin for Shador because teams are going to want to go, or the Vegas is going to want to hop up there to make sure they get him. Because Dion has said the only way he coaches in the NFL is if he could coach both Shador and his son Shiloh, who is going to be like a day 3 pick as a safety. But if, if the Raiders want it, they can make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a topic that we'll keep our eyes on for sure because it affects us. very curious to see if we'll hear, over the next month or so, especially if Dion does get the job, that the Browns and the Titans are heavily interested in taking Shador, because then it's the Browns and the Titans kind of getting into a bidding war with each other, being able to negotiate with Vegas to see who will, get that haul of draft picks. Does Tennessee really want to, drop down to 6 and miss out on one of the top 2 quarterbacks when, they could take Cam Ward? Do the Browns not want to take one of these, couple guys and trade down? It's obviously there's players there that would really fit the roster for the Browns, and we kind of talked about that recently too. So I'd be very curious to see how this all shakes out. All depending on if Dion decides to go to Vegas.
I have an idea, and it never happens very often in the league, but maybe there's a scenario where a 3-team trade happens with the Browns, Titans, and Raiders, where the Titans get the 2 pick, the Raiders get the 1 pick, the Browns get the 6 pick and additional picks. Obviously, the Titans get additional picks, and everybody comes out happy. Shador goes to Vegas. Tennessee drops down to 2, still gets a quarterback, and the Browns get a haul of picks, and they can get whoever at number 6, Abdul Carter or Mason Graham, get some additional picks in the top 100 and some future picks. And then I don't know. There's something that I can try to work on, and maybe an article or something, or for a future episode here.
Yeah, maybe we could tie it into one of these mock draft Monday videos that we're going to
Sure.
start to do as well.
Yeah.
That would be hell of interesting for a trade like that to be pulled off. I'm sure we can kind of do it in the PFF simulator, because you can make a trade with the Titans and the Raiders first, and then make a second trade and kind of see how those picks would kind of balance out there. I'd be curious to see how that would all shake out, but we'll see. We'll stay tuned for that for sure. Be sure to follow Jack on X at JackMcCurry08. Be sure to follow me at Anthony Jokey, Joki. Be sure to follow the Dogland at the Dogland. Until next time, go Browns.